is inclusive mechanisms targeting youth for countering violent extremism in the IGAD region. As you can see from that slide, we have been funded by IDRC, Canada. Our partners are IGAD and PeaceNet. We are the lead partner, but we are going to walk through this journey with the other partners. Every activity, big or small, we will be together. So there's no lesser partner than the other. We are the ones who are answerable to IDRC, but we are partners with IGAD and PeaceNet. I'll quickly talk about OSSREA. OSSREA is an organization for social science research in Eastern and Southern Africa. It was established in 1980 by African social scientists who felt that the Africans were having a raw deal in social science. Their research was not being published, and the research on Africa was being done by non-Africans. So they came together and felt that they should have their own outfit where they can do African research, write their own story in the best way possible, the way they know it, and publish it to defend themselves. They also had another objective of of supporting the early career researchers, the young researchers, those who are doing masters and PhD. Because at that time, only few people would get scholarships to go out of Africa, and maybe when they go, they don't even come back. So this organization was meant to maintain our brain within Africa while networking with the North and also South-to-South partnership. It has its presence in 21 Eastern and South African countries. It has established 7 social science research hubs. We have a hub here in Kenya at Moi University for integrated climate change, disaster risk reduction, and social protection. We have a hub in Sudan on international migrations. We have a hub in University of Rwanda on peace, security, and governance. We have a hub in University of Zimbabwe on food security and agriculture and food security. We have a hub in University of Namibia on gender issues. Then University of Addis Ababa on higher education. Everything that OSSREA does is on higher education, because this is a network of universities that came together. The African scholars who came together formed a network for the African universities. And therefore, in these 21 countries, we have liaison officers who link the secretariat with the universities in their countries. We have about 300 universities affiliated to us. We do publishing, dissemination of the research that we have published. We also do capacity building. We have evolved and we move with the times as things keep on changing. Initially, if you look at the history of OSSREA, you'll see what was happening was just supporting early career researchers to do research for senior scholars and junior scholars. Today, we have moved from knowledge harvesting. We don't only harvest knowledge that has been done. We are now moved to participatory appraisal research, where we work with all the stakeholders, from the inception stage of our research to the end, because we cannot solve African problems by sitting in the university libraries and doing research, writing it and keeping it on the shelves to bend the shelves in the libraries. We have come out of that, and now we work with all stakeholders. We work with media, the way I'm very happy to see many media houses are present here today. We work with the policy makers, because everything we do, we know policy makers are very key, and nothing can change unless the policy environment is right. We work with the civil society. They are the voice of the people on the ground. So that is why we are partnering with BizNet, because there's so much work BizNet has done in as far as this topic is concerned, and they will lead the way in Kenya and in Uganda, where we shall do the research. And also, the policymakers, we want to hear from them. How far have they gone? What has worked? What hasn't worked? What should we do so that we are not reinventing the wheel? So after OSSREA has collected the data, and since we are starting with everybody together, we always move together in that particular format, seeking, consulting one another till the end. We have taken an interventionist approach. And this interventionist approach cannot be handled by one organization. The problems we have in Africa today cannot be solved with a unimodal kind of model. We have to work together as a net, as a spider web, the way BizNet has its logo there. OSSREA is a membership organization, and when you at the end of this, I know some of you would like to be members of this great organization. And our priority sectors are research, capacity building, effective and efficient financial management, knowledge harvesting, and dissemination. Why are we here today? A lot about OSSREA. If you Google OSSREA, www.ossrea.net, you'll get to know so much about OSSREA. Why are we here today? Today, you have already said what your expectations are and what you're expecting from us, and what we should what we should also give you. The first one is to identify key knowledge gaps on root causes of youth involvement or non-involvement in violent extremism. We want to see the interventions that the government has put in place, not only the Kenyan government, but the Ugandan government as well. Identify what is known and what is not known, what has and what has not worked. We look at the gender dimensions and as per the geographical location and cultural nuances, because all these concepts mean different things to different people. But the reason why you're here today is to guide us so that we can position this in the Kenyan and Ugandan perspective. We define this in the Kenyan and the Ugandan perspective to fit the IGAD region. We also intend to, at the end of it all, to propose short-term and long-term interventions for countering violent extremism. The second purpose for our being here is to hear from the government and communities their immediate priorities and to confirm their commitment to lead this research. I hope government officers will finally arrive, because this is very important. This area that we are working on is very sensitive, and well, in the whole of, globally, it's a sensitive area, and we need government support. We need their commitment in this particular endeavor. We also hope to agree on additional analysis required on causes of violent extremism, because the causes of violent extremism have been generalized so much. Everybody says it's because of poverty or unemployment or ideology, but we haven't heard the voices of the youth in this particular thing. We want to capture their voices. What are they saying? What are they thinking? Can we fit in what they want to do? How best can we help them? We would like to explore the comparative analysis methodology, whereby after we have looked at Kenya, we also look at what is happening in Uganda. Do we have exactly the same characteristics being exhibited? And if they are different, why? What is happening? Are the causes the same? Is the methodology that we are using, that we are going to agree on, fitting exactly in Uganda the same way it's fitting in Kenya? We would like to identify possible future and short-term priorities, including pilot programs targeting CVE. Their livelihoods are very important. Many of the youth are unemployed. Africa has the youngest youth population. Africa is the youngest continent in the world, and this has various implications. Now, as a country here in Kenya and Uganda, or generally the whole of IGAD region, including Ethiopia, Djibouti, Eritrea, and the rest, they are experiencing the same problems. Now, ours will be whatever we will get will be a case study that can be picked on by IGAD to move on. We also would like to agree on a coordinating framework and mechanism on ongoing and proposed joint work. There is so much work that PeaceNet is doing. There is a lot that IGAD and the IGAD countries are doing in terms of countering violent extremism. In fact, every country has a countering violent extremism center. We now even have a center of excellence sitting at Djibouti. And we want to come up, we know that academia have their own thinking, and their voice has not even been heard for a very long time in terms of CVE. We want to capture the thinking of academia, then the civil society and media on this issue, and develop a working harmonious framework that we can adopt or can be adopted to help in countering violent extremism, or which our countries, the IGAD, can adopt and can be piloted in the IGAD region. Finally, we'd like to develop a holistic and integrated approach in examining, understanding, and addressing the challenges facing youth in different ways. We have been, every donor or civil society or government is targeting specific aspects depending on the priorities or their strategic plans. This truncated kind of business is not working very well in countering violent extremism. So if, of course, in as much as we know that not one size fits all, we also know that it is possible for us to have a holistic and integrated approach, and that's why we have started as 3 partners funded by IDRC to use the multidisciplinary approach in solving this problem, or in reducing the impact of this problem. The agenda for this Inception meeting is to do a context analysis of the region, the challenges and opportunities, look at the existing analytic tools, studies and information gaps on CVE in the IGAD region, look at ongoing or proposed interventions, challenges of CVE and development, and develop short-term and medium-term analytical operational priorities. And at the end of our workshop, would like you to feed into our coordination and monitoring and evaluation. Even if we have a very smart approach, without proper monitoring and evaluation, we shall not achieve anything. And without it, even the IDRC will not get value for their money. And therefore, we need your contribution on this so that we can do a good job. A job that you'll be proud of, that you'll say, we were there when it all started. Our research process has 4 steps. Step 1 is already finished. Step 1 was where we had the... Step 1 was before March 2017, where we developed the proposal, sent it to Ottawa. They looked at it, approved it, and we were invited to come for methodology training workshop here in Nairobi by IDRC, where we already developed the full proposal. We also developed the tools, an M&E framework, which you will help us to improve. That was done at the beginning. But with you stakeholders now on board, you will tell us what is really happening on the ground so that we enrich it or we do not duplicate what has already been done. The second stage is where we are today. We are holding our consultative meeting with stakeholders on the content of the proposal. We shall share with you the proposal in the course of the day. And we have invited CSOs, we have media here, we have academia, and I'm really hoping that policymakers come. We also are going to, the policymakers are going to help us identify priority areas and commitment to, and also show commitment to championing this cause. We want to move with them. We don't want to leave them behind. Or we don't want them to say, we didn't tell you this. Or we have already done this. It would be very bad. We also want to agree on the proposal objectives, methodology, and pathways. This is very important because academic work is quite different from the work that the CSO usually do. It's quite different from the way policymakers do their research. You know, policymakers in a day, in a few minutes, when a member of parliament is asked a question, they call their assistants and tell them, find out that and bring me a brief. But in academia, our approach is quite different. We tire somebody with asking and inquiring, and we use a method called process tracing. When you tell us this, we say, why is it like this? Then we move from there. It's a spider. And you see, CSOs, on the other hand, their research is for advocacy. It differs from academia that give facts as they are, and policymakers who don't go deep into it. So this methodology is problematic, but at the same time, we believe our coming together will help us to have a harmonized methodology with all your support. The same goes for the harmonized framework, the budget, the monitoring and evaluation. After we have finished this and you have helped us to, given us a go-ahead to move on, we will now go and do the context analysis so that we develop the research products. We will develop research evidence papers for Kenya and Uganda. From them, we shall develop comparative evidence paper, journal articles, infographics, policy briefs, bulletins, and all this. And we shall be sharing with you, especially the media, social media, so that we write blogs about what we are doing, what we have found out, what interesting things the youth are saying about how they want to be felt, how they want to be included in decisions being made about them as far as countering violent extremism is concerned. I think I've already talked about our ultimate goal, which is to develop that holistic and integrated approach, and also we would wish to have a violent-free youth population. I've already mentioned the research products that we are going to develop, including a journal article. We will work with an expert who is present today on youth and media in countering violent extremism to develop a learning alliance. Youth will share their views about countering violent extremism. We will pose questions to them and they will respond to this. Together with the Learning Alliance, we shall also have a radio program and where we will have call-in shows. We will also send SMSs to those in places, those youth who do not have smartphones, so that they tell us what is happening in the area or what their friends are saying or their families. Because this kind of research, we want to reach the youth at the micro level, at the household level, not as generalizing things that all the youth are doing this. Youth are like that. Because we are looking at the youth who are in town, and we want to go to the household levels and touch the hearts of households, families who are affected by youth, who are either doing this or that. Because we have often talked about the negative things youth are doing. We have not said the positive ones that they are also doing. We have not also felt how their families are involved in this. So that intergenerational dynamics needs to come out. The way the youth perceive this issue also needs to come out. A youth of 15 and a youth of 35 are quite different in their ways of thinking. We will develop a training manual at the end of it from the research that we would have done and the comparative evidence paper that we would have developed. It will help us to develop a training manual that will be used by CSOs, academia, and the policymakers to train youth on issues of violent extremism. I've already talked about how we will do both online and offline workshops to reach out to the youth. The aim is for policy and practice of CVE in the IGAD region. We want the two to work hand in hand. We do not, you see, presently policy and practice are kind of separated. They move parallel. We want them to harness the synergies of each other and move together. Thank you very much for listening to me. I hope I've demystified what inclusive mechanisms targeting youth for countering violent extremism in the IGAD region will be all about.
Business Kenya, as an organization, was established back in 1992, initially to provide relief services to victims of electoral violence and politically instigated clashes in parts of Rift Valley of Kenya. But it has evolved over the time to be an autonomous organization registered as a trust since 2005. So Business Kenya, as we stand today, is structured to have its regional committees, which are now 11. So we have 11 regions that are spread out this country. Most of them are taking the shapes of the former provinces before we had the Constitution of 2010, with the exception now of the Eastern, which was very vast, and now has been divided to Upper and Lower Eastern, and Rift Valley that has also been divided into 3. So we have Southern Rift, Central Rift, and North Rift regions. So that brings to 11 regions. The philosophy of PeaceNet lies in networking and partnership building. PeaceNet believes that a seed does not germinate without other factors like the soil, like the moisture, and therefore the synergies that we get from our partners make us go through all our implementation schemes. So we are committed to sustaining broad-based coalitions for peace, and we get consolidated support for inclusive peace-building initiatives. So currently, PeaceNet is moving regional, especially starting with this particular project that already we have the representation in Uganda, and that's why I'm proud of Lena being here. So Lena, could you just share with us in 1 second your organization that you're going to work with to implement the CVE program in Uganda?
I am a representative of PeaceNet in Uganda, and proudly so. We will be working in the district of Arua. Arua, we will almost be actually working a lot with people from DR Congo and South Sudan. Take that into consideration. Arua is in West Nile. Gulu, which also is hosting a lot of the refugees from South Sudan. And we had experienced the 20 plus reality with the LRA, brutal war, which was also fought a lot in the women's bodies in terms of rape and defilement and abductions of children, among others. And we now have relative peace, but it's very, you know, it is not so settled. So that research being done in Gulu is very, very critical, because it will really inform IGAD countries and also Uganda. And we are working in Kasese. Kasese is in the western region. Some of you may have followed in the media where one of the kings was arrested, politically very volatile, culturally very divided, and also bordering DR Congo and Rwanda, and we have some Burundi. So it's a very dynamic region, Kasese. And then Mbale, where half of Kenya was cut that way, half of Uganda was cut this way. So we strategically, with the wisdom of PeaceNet, we are not going to start, that. Where we strategically chose these 4 regions with, of course, the guidance from our lead principal investigator, because of the implications in terms of preventing and countering violent extremism, because of the experiences in terms of the realities there. And I will be his counterpart. So the board members, I think today is also my vetting to see whether he made the right choice for PeaceNet. And thank you. And among others, I'm also in academia. I lecture in Gulu University. I also lecture in Victoria University, among others. I am a visiting resource person in Harvard University. Thank you.
The programs for PeaceNet that are running currently include conflict transformation. This component or our program focus, to me, is the heartbeat of PeaceNet's activities and capacity. It looks into changing, transforming people from their violent or conflict conscience to enhance and live with peace. And this particular program is and I'm proud to say, has been widely supported by GIZ. For my pride of this particular program, the current team at PeaceNet, out of all our project officers, we have 3 of them that are products of this transformation. And so it has really elevated even the status of PeaceNet before we transform others at the grassroots level. So there's one component that is done nationally, and so it changes into focus regions with different times. But it has always been implemented in parts of Uasin Gishu County, Kisumu County, Nakuru County, Nairobi County, and yes, a few other areas that I think the project officer can easily elaborate. But then we have a specific program running in Nyeri. This is like a seed program that will help us as PeaceNet to run a template for other regional offices. And so we are looking at it as a key program that will help us in our expansion program as well. We can also use it to establish our regional office or international office now in Uganda. So that is conflict transformation program. Then we have the early warning, early response program. Locally, this one is known as Sauti Mashinani. This is a program that collects information as it happens regarding conflicts in each region of this country. And it's remitted to our central server at PeaceNet online. And those who cannot access the online service have a line, telephone number, that they can send the SMS and it will directly go into our server, which we analyze regularly to inform for those who are responsible for interventions. This program will be very key for this particular project that we're starting now. The pioneer of this at PeaceNet is now the programs manager, and he's very passionate about this. If we may have time in the program, we may want him to share probably starting tomorrow, so that at least we all know how it works. Then we have Jamii Dhabiti program, which is also known as improving community safety. The Jamii Dhabiti program is looking at establishing the peace structures and linking them to the government agencies that are working on peace and security. Some of these structures are established at district level, actually most of them, and then we are in the process now forming the county-based structures, which are known as county peace forums. Initially, we used to have district peace committees, and these ones are done in collaboration with the National Steering Committee on Peace Building, that is the Ministry of Interior, and we are trying now to have the structure of at the county level, which is led currently by PeaceNet, and we're working together with other partners. This project is implemented in 8 counties. We have Wajir, Mandera, we have Kwale and Kilifi counties, we have Kisumu, Bungoma, and we have Nakuru and Baringo. So Jamii Dhabiti is currently it's one of our biggest programs. Then we have the Vista in the House, which I'll talk about later. But again, we have Uyano Platform for Peace. Uyano Platform for Peace was established as a program between PeaceNet, the government agencies, and UNDP back in 2010. It helped us to come as a platform, or come together as a platform for all peace actors, both state and non-state actors that are working on issues of peace building. And those who know Kenya very well we have one mark in our history about 10 years ago. That is about 2007, 2008. And this platform is one of the recovery processes that are now committed to taking Kenya never back there again. And so in this platform, we have very many other organizations, but the principal partners are 11. There used to be 4, but when we established this year, last year, sorry, we expanded it to include some of the government agencies because they are actually responsible for the chaos that we encounter. So the new partners in the house include IEBC. They hold the matchbox to this country because Kenyans are very peaceful people until the elections come. So we included IEBC so that we are sure of what they're doing and we can monitor and help support them where it's necessary to assess the risks that they pose and face with Kenyans. We also have Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. All our politicians subscribe to some political party. So we included the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties so that we can have a way of a platform for dealing with politicians directly through their political party structures. And also, we have Media Council of Kenya. The Media Council of Kenya, there is no way we would be actually sharing what we want to share when the media are not part of the process. So we have the Media Council of Kenya that is represented as a principal partner. Then we have the Council of Governors that was also included. We changed the governance structure for this country, and therefore we have also devolved the activities that we're doing for peace building, and that is how we engage with the Council of Governors that also brings together the platform for county assembly representatives for each region. And also, finally, we have the Interreligious Council of Kenya, IRCK, who are also now principal partners and the supporters in the mediation activities. And a new visitor in the room that was initiated in November last year is what we call the Women's Situation Room, spearheaded by UN Women. And I'm proud to say that one of our board members has been nominated to be one of the eminent women to sit in the Women's Situation Room, Madam Gertrude. Just say hi. Thank you. Then that is we are a platform for peace. Through this platform, we were actually hosting a series of activities last week in the Devolution Conference. Those who are seeing Kenyan news, it was fully Devolution Conference. Then PeaceNet is also a convener of Kenya Peace Conference. All peace actors came together to be holding, sharing sessions once in a year. But this year we are planning to have them twice, one for the youth, specifically in May, and then we shall have one for all others at a time that we have not predetermined because of the election, so we want to see the timing, whether it's before or after. But PeaceNet is the secretariat for the Kenya Peace Conference. That is the program that was initially led for us by Molly, but now she's going to combine the two. Then now we have the Vista in the House, which is countering violent extremism, and this is a program that everybody's asking me, Sam, what does it constitute? And all your answers are going to be answered on this plenary or today, because we are going to share all information about it so that we know where it is going to be implemented. We have already known who are the implementers. We've already known now who are the donors. And we will also see who else we can bring on board to help us achieve it. So that is how that is concerned. So currently PeaceNet has about 230 organizations, both CBO and NGOs brought together, plus government agencies. And if you go to the Sauti Mashinani portal, you can easily know whom we work with in every county. So Abby will show you how to go to the portal so that right now you really know whom we work with and where. This team that of partners that we work with are coordinated by the secretariat, which we have here in Nairobi. And that's where our programs teams and administrative teams are anchored. But that structure is well supported by our governing board, and the regional coordinators who form what we call regional committees in the 11 regions. And this gives us the strength and the capacity to capture and reach out everywhere in this country, because in each regional committee, we have representatives from each county. So there's no time something will be happening in another county, and we say that we don't have a staff there. Yes, we may not have a staff there, but we have an affiliation and somebody who is representing us in those regions. So business is that widely established. A few of our partners that are supporting us are JZ, DFID, UNDP, and currently we have IDRC. We also have European Union that is supporting us through Uyano platform, and we have the Swedish Embassy that's also supporting us through the Uyano platform. So thank you very much. That's the little introduction I could say about business.
So the Civil Peace Service Program, or in short CPS, is a very unique setup by the originally by the German civil society, and later on it was adopted by the German government to make it official and to send out consultants, peace-building advisors worldwide to, I don't know, something like 30, 40 countries at the moment worldwide under the umbrella of the GIZ. And in a nutshell, we just provide our expertise, our knowledge, our experience in working with conflict, in advising local partners on the ground, like PeaceNet here in Kenya, on how to address conflict issues. And I have about 8 colleagues right now working with other Kenyan organizations, for example, IDRC-OSSREA, or also 2 organizations in Mombasa at the coast, and we work also in Kisumu, and we used to work also in Isiolo before, so it's a very dynamic program.
I was asked to welcome you, first of all, to this country, those who are from Uganda and Ethiopia. Welcome to Kenya, since apparently we are the host organization. Is that not so? Sure. Yes, so as a host organization, we welcome you to Kenya. 2 is to say thank you because for bringing the program to this country and Uganda. We are really struggling as a country with terrorism and extreme violence or violent extremism. And so this study, to me, is an intervention in itself. Because it's no use, as people say, shooting in the dark, as it were. There's a problem, you shoot at it, you don't even know what you are shooting at. It's a hit and miss kind of thing. But I think when we do this kind of study, we are underpinning our peace building programs. We understand why we are doing them. We understand the problem. And we want also, we think in advance, because we want to realize the appropriate impact, positive or negative. As our sister was speaking, he said this study is very tricky, very sensitive, very emotional. So we need to handle ourselves responsibly. And I thank you, Austria and IGAD, for teaming up with PeaceNet. But this is the way you strengthen us as a networking organization to promote our capacity to be conflict sensitive, even as we do this program. Thank you very much.
I'm working in Addis Ababa University, but I got interested in working with violent extremism in the region. And for its purpose, I'm venturing into a different area that I had not actually been before. I've been in post-conflict issues, reconciliation, and many other issues that affect communities after war. And also looking at non-governmental organizations and designing public policy, giving checks and balances for governments. But here I'm trying to venture into a new area of looking at violent extremism, partly because we cannot avoid this topic anymore, both in academia, by policymakers, and on the practice, on the ground. So therefore, I've been consulted to work with OSSREA for 3 years until the end of this program. So I will be very happy to get any feedback from you at any time, starting from after the presentation here right now. So I will be working with you all through. I've done my groundwork. I traveled a little bit to different areas a month ago. I was doing other work, but I was already carrying the burden to know. So I was in Garissa, I went to Ola, I went to Garsen, I went to Malindi, and came back the same route, and went to Uganda, went to Gulu, to West Nile, I went to Karamoja, and I couldn't go to Kasese because of the hot situation. So basically, we have chosen 2 countries, and we have reasons for that, which I will take you through. I think the program says we have 1 hour, but I don't think I will take 1 hour for the presentation. Everybody will start sleeping. It's too long, but within the 1 hour, we're going to have serious discussions about the issues that I will raise to you. Right, inclusive mechanisms targeting youth for countering violent extremism in the IGAD region. Trofina has said quite a number of things already, which I don't want to repeat because he has mentioned some of the things that I'm actually going to present. So I'll jump over some of the repetitions and emphasize on details. Contents of the presentation. I want to give a brief background of the entire project and what goes into what we have in front of us, which is the background paper. We've been working on the background paper to start up the discussion. But that paper will be a work in progress, that if you want to quote the paper, it's too early to do that, because it's just like rough draft. And we are going to build on that background paper. It's already 23 pages, but with time I think it will grow. So there are some key terms and drivers of violent extremism which is mentioned in that paper, and also adding onto the proposal that you might have seen. The proposal is just a snapshot of a few things, but the background paper has some details. So we want to expand on that. And the key terms, we'll look at, the key terms on the drivers, we'll look at 2 things. One, the current attempts to set up policy framework. There was one expectation that I had, somebody asking what has already been done in this area. So there's some few work that has already been done, and there are also some suggested areas of priority for countering violent extremism. So I will go through that. The problem statement, what exactly are we looking at? What is the problem that we are trying to address in this research? I will highlight that. And the objectives, research questions, method, outputs, research matrix, and that is all that I will present to you. What I've added there is also about the partnership arrangements between OSSREA, PeaceNet, and IGAD, for the purpose that I mentioned in the beginning, that we need this partnership. We need to work at different levels, from bottom up and also from top down, so that we have policymakers who know exactly what is on the ground. So this research picks up almost every aspect of countering violent extremism with youth at different levels. So what is the background here? I started by looking at the population figure, the demography of what exists today in the world, as in numbers of people. 1.8 billion people living in the world today. They are between the ages of 10 and 24. And we have about 7.2 billion people in population. So this group here, they make up just less than 1/4 of the world's population. Now, Africa constitutes, Trofina has mentioned, the most youthful continent, with over 2/3 of Africa's population are under 35 years old currently. And youth involvement in violent extremism is growing at an exponential rate on the continent. as well as around the world. So there's a lot of concern among policymakers, governments, and international community to focus on this age group who are actually getting into violent extremism very fast, and it's growing very fast. And within the IGAD, where our focus is, and elsewhere around IGAD, we have seen the active involvement of young men and women in radicalization and actually also actively participating in violent extremism. So the IGAD region has experienced numerous acts of terrorism. This is a known fact to all of us, on top of the already volatile situation in the region. It is almost 30 years or 20-something years now that IGAD region has always been termed the most volatile region in Africa. So the Horn of Africa as a whole is one of the most volatile in terms of different types of conflict, resource conflicts, ethnic conflicts. Now we have an added factor, which is violent extremism. So we need to get into the IGAD region and understand exactly what is going on. So with that very brief background, which I really summarized, and it is a little bit longer in the paper, I don't want to stay too long on that. I want to look at some key issues, key terms which people use today. And it is very important for our literature review, because one of the activities that we are going to have is the desktop research. So we have to look into what has already been done, what is out there, and recognize that, yes, there is already some work which is going on or has already been done. And how different is it from ours? So we need to know those keywords, key terms, key activities which is already out there. Now, youth. There are so many contentions about who is supposed to be a youth. But again, I start with the concept. Conceptually, there are so many disagreements, but there's one that people agree on, that the definition of youth should be looked at as a socially constructed concept. So to be understood as a youth is a socially constructed concept, and that a youth is an individual who goes through very many stages in life, interstation